All right, so with Ben Williams, we did have a really good intro, but Ben went for a walk. He was showing me the wedding venue that he's at the moment. So he's gone outside into a gazebo, which is probably the most English thing that you could
Oh,
think of. A gazebo, a country manor house.
I just need a cup of tea now.
I know, yeah, you're missing that. Is that a button behind you to turn on heaters?
It's something. Shall I put? Yeah, there's lights, heaters. Look at that.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
There you go. You can stay warm now. But yeah, the reason we've got Ben on the line is because he's just released Sharp Money today. Sharp Money, in my view, is the best build to market that I've ever seen. I've actually seen it live at Blackpool Magic Convention. Ben, whilst, let's be honest, intoxicated, was like, check this out. You probably don't even remember showing me. Um,
I show quite a few people,
I
but
was
don't.
standing behind like Ryan Tricks as you were
Oh,
showing
right,
it. It
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
but anything could have happened. To be fair, like Jumanji, a stampede of animals could have gone through, and I don't think it would have broken your zen. So, to me, it's incredible that you're an equally good performer and creator because you don't usually get someone who's good at performing. Usually, when you speak to a creator, with Ellusionist, I get to jam a lot with people, so I sit down with people and I'm like, oh, like show me a trick, and they're like, oh, basically this is how you do it. You get a card selected, and then it goes into a diagonal palm shift, and then it's in your hand, and it goes to your pocket, and a little fairy comes out and takes it like that. They explain instead of perform, so
Yeah.
it's good. It's good that you've got the experience of a worker, but the output of a creator.
Do you know? I think having worked in the magic industry for like 10 years now, that's one of the things when I see people, I want magic to be performed to me. I know so much magic and everything, and if somebody comes up to me, I'd like a performance. You
Yeah.
know, I'd like somebody to show me some magic. I find now if I ever get fooled by something, I tend not to ask how it's done because I just want to. I like that feeling.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Do you know at Session there was a guy called Kim Anderson who did a coin trick where I had two coins in my hand.
cross.
Yeah, and he closed his hand. He opens it up. It's got a coin. He moves his hand out the way, and I've got two coins in my hand. And I felt it, And then afterwards, he was like, "Let me just show you." I was like, "No!" I like
No.
ran away. No
Yeah,
way. Do not tell me. But
yeah.
yeah, unfortunately, because you released it, I know the secret to Sharp Money now, which it's not just one secret; it's four secrets. So my first question is, why four methods?
um, I think it's just because I've given you everything, all the decent ideas that I've come up with over the years.
How many years did it take to develop those four methods?
I started working on this back in about 2006, 2007. I think I released the first, because I released a basic PDF. It was a very small release back in late 2008, I think
Yeah.
it was. And and that actually is now, that handling is now like the bare bones method, like the bare bones sleight of hand method for Sharp Money.
Yeah.
Because there's, like you say, four routines taught. So there's two sleight of hand versions, there's two gimmicked versions, and essentially it's kind of like a modular kind of thing because you could take elements from one of the gimmicked routines and then apply it, and take elements from the sleight of hand routines and mix them together if you want.
Yeah.
Uh, so I kind of, what I've tried to do is give you four solid routines which have varying degrees of skill and also are suited for different situations.
Yeah.
And so you can copy those routines if you want. But then I also teach you lots of other different techniques which you can then take what you like out of them, or maybe one is situational and you go, do you know what, that moment is perfect for now as you're performing it, or something like that. I talk about this on the download. But essentially, it's trying to give you solid routines, but then also give you the tools to make your own routines out of it, so that it can suit you as a performer.
So, what do you think sets this apart from any other bill-in marker or bill-in pen effect? Like for you, and when you ask these questions, it sounds like a hard sell, sometimes with
Yep.
the answer. But I know personally when someone said to me, why did you release Latch or Fly or Jack Black, something, whatever they say about one of them, I'm so passionate like I fully believe that, that those methods stand up, or that those sleights are perfectly, worked out. Like, what do you think sets this apart from any other thing?
I mean, first of all, it is a Sharpie,
Yeah.
which is nice. Let's be honest, it is nice that it's a Sharpie. Great, there are great other methods, hands down, some other great methods for billing marker, but they might not, they've got a big fat marker, or they're a certain type of marker that you have to go and source. So it was actually Richard Sanders' Cramped that inspired me to come up with Sharp Money. Because I loved Cramped. I tried to work it, maybe didn't put enough effort in myself or something, and then I decided, do you know what? I'm going to try and do this with a Sharpie. And then it evolved into not just going into the cap, but into the actual Sharpie, the barrel of the Sharpie.
Yeah.
Right. And so, it's a Sharpie, which is great. You don't have to switch out your marker now when you're performing.
Yeah.
B, one of the things I've really tried to do with Sharp Money is to create a paradox for the spectator.
Yeah.
A bit like OSIN or Paperclipped or something like that, where they can see a prediction. Like, for example, Paperclipped or OSIN, same kind of principle. I prefer OSIN's method. Don't tell Jay.
I'm sure he'd be fine.
But yeah, you can show the sign card and the folded paperclip card together.
Yeah.
And then when you take the paperclip off the folded card, it is the signed card, which is a complete paradox. It just doesn't make sense.
To me, it's likened to, like, do you know the Schrodinger's cat phenomenon? Where, Schrodinger, the famous, hypothesis was that if you place a cat into your hand and you close your hand, the cat is both alive or dead at the exact same time. It exists in that moment. And for me,
it's only until it's revealed that you know the actual truth. So do you know what? That I love paradoxes. I can sit and talk to you about Terminator 2 all day and Carl and whether it's actually possible, and timelines and stuff. So I naturally like this sort of phenomena, if you like, or this kind of premise. And so I wanted to give that to the spectators. So I've worked really hard on making the routines so that Sharpie can be in their hand the whole time of the routine, and you really get this feel that it was in their hand, even though they genuinely, that they'd signed the banknote with that pen.
Do you think, though, that
about it without giving the secret away?
I know, don't reveal the method, but do you think that there's a different kind of reaction to a Sharp Money paradox? 'Cause, like, for me, like, watching you perform it, watching some of the reaction footage you've got from actual gigs that we used in the trailer, those are real gigs, not, people that we've gone and set up or given, free coffees to pull a face in slow motion. But do you think it's a different kind of reaction where you do a visual trick and it's like, oh, but you do a Sharp Money effect and it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And it's like sinks in really slow, and then it's like
it's like a 2-beat kind of. Well, what's nice is you get this really clean vanish. You roll the banknote up, you poke it in your hand, it's gone. It's completely clean.
Yeah.
And then you go over to them and you pick the Sharpie up off the table, and then you crack it open. You can even hand it back to them for them to crack open, take the note out themselves if you like. It's entirely up to you how you want to perform it. But essentially, what's nice is that they crack their Sharpie open, they see the banknote, and you get a reaction then. So you get a reaction from the vanish, you get a reaction from them. But when you let them take the note out themselves, and when they unroll the note themselves and see their signature, that's when their brain just pops. It's so funny. You can see it in some of the performances. You get a, oh my God, it's inside the pen, and then you get a, what?
Yeah.
There's a girl that's in red in one of the performances, and she literally just is like, she's just looking around holding the banknote. It's just broken her brain.
The one that Brad liked, if anyone's watched the trailer, it's hilarious. If you haven't, go check out the trailer for Sharp Money, but it's the guy that goes like this. It's like, oh no.
That was at the vanish.
Yeah. He's been converted. He's like, oh God, I believe in Ben Williams.
I've got a great footage of me performing it to another professional magician, Ravi Mayer, and again it's at Blackpool. It's about 4 in the morning again.
Wavy Mayor, wavy.
Wavy, and I literally, he takes the pen. And he's like, well, if you got my banknote, I'm going to keep the pen. Yeah. I was like, no, the pen's mine. And then I went, actually, do you know what? If we crack it open, and you see his face, he's like, what? And I show the banknote. He laughs. He's like, ha, 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 ha. And then I hand it to him. And he goes, what the? And he just, like, the laughter stops. Everything stops when that moment when he realizes, actually, this is going to have my signature on it.
Yeah.
Hits. He just, the laughter goes. And he's like, what the? And he looks around a little bit. And then I rolls it. And he's like, what? And that's the kind of thing that you get from it. You really do get a very strong, multi-layered kind of reaction from it.
I think, I mean, I know the magic that you perform, you know, at your events and things, but I think that's almost like a goal that people should strive for, is to have multiple reactions. Like, I saw a lot of people do an effect where, you know, let's say a card's lost and then they flick it out of the deck, but they flick it up facing the spectator. So now the spectator gets their ears, like, that's your card. They're like, oh, if you flick it the other way, they assume it's their card. So you've got the first reaction, like, okay,
they're reacting to the pop out. Like,
yeah. And then you're like, which card did you say? And they're like, 2 of spades. You're like, not the 5 of hearts. Then they're like, the anticipation grows. And then you turn it over and it's 2 of spades. You get 2 reactions from one trick.
Exactly.
And that's sharp money in a nutshell. That's OCL in a nutshell. And, you know, other great magic that, you know, this could provide a lesson to people, which is, you don't want just a visual. You want like a visual to sink in, and then to have like a perplexing paradox moment where it's like, could it be? They assume the effect before they've even had the reveal, and that's the most powerful magic, I think.
Do you know, every time I perform Triumph, which I love, Triumph's such a great plot, but every time I perform Triumph, I spread the cards face up and there's one card face down.
Yeah.
I spread the cards face down and there's one card face up, which is their card, because that's, you know, you want that lingered out suspense. You want that, you know, like you say, that kind of multiple reaction.
I saw Alex Pandrea do Ambitious Card, you know, and it's like
Does it really well.
So it goes like boop, comes to the top, and normal people would turn it over, but instead he places it in their hand. He goes boop, and then he takes a peek. And hopefully he doesn't mind us doing this. All credit to Alex Pandrea for this presentation, but he takes a peek and then drops the card. He's like, no. And then he's like, click again. They click again, and he's like, okay, take a look. So then there's like this real moment where they're like, oh, it just comes to the top. They assume the trick, so they're impressed when it's, you know, when it's there. But when they assume it hasn't worked, and now it has, the moment's like twice as strong. You know, there's that anticipation. So yeah, I don't know, like, we veered off course.
It's really hooking people in, because I think what what that separates, like, kind of like the good performers from the great ones. It's very easy, you know, it's not very easy, but once you know how and once you practice, it's easy to bust out a double lift for somebody. But if I do a double lift, it takes a couple of minutes, because what I'll do is I'll peek the card so they can shuffle as much as they like, and then I'll invisibly control the card via a cull, and then I'll straight away hand them the top card. But I won't be like, if I turn over the top card, look here, and if you hold on to it and if you snap, I won't be like that. I'll just say, here, how's your imagination? You know, have you got a good imagination? Like, if I showed you a card, if I showed you the 4 of spades, for example, could you imagine that's your card? And now they're holding it. I'm not kind of doing a trick. I'm just talking with them and explaining as I go, you know, what I'm talking about. And then it's all in their imagination. Then I build it up and I do a mind read, and then I tell them what card it was. They go, wow. And then I say, do you know how I know? And they say, no. And I say, because that's the card you're holding right now. And they've forgotten they're holding a card. Yeah. And then, and it kills. I mean, I can go, look here, that's not your card here, snap, now it is. And it gets a great reaction.
Yeah.
It doesn't hit hard enough for me. So
I think you only learn that through performance, and that's a stunning tip. Like for anyone out there, if you just think about your magic, go back and reassess some of those visual moments and try and smooth them out so it settles. And you only learn that from performing at gigs. And I did like 4 or 5 years of performing in bars and at weddings and stuff, and I got bored of it. It just wasn't, it didn't sit with me as well as it sits with other people. But I mean, for you, what's the one tip that you'd give to any performing magician out there?
Any performing magician?
Yeah, anyone that's currently doing gigs or just doing a little smattering of gigs, like maybe one a month or one every 2 months. Like, what could they learn from you as a professional?
I liked when I perform to try and not have like an on-off kind of like, hey, hi, I'm the magician. Here, let's do a trick.
Yeah.
Oh, you da 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 da. And then I've seen workers that will speak to a booker, and then the booker will go, come and show us something, and it's like they turn on a switch or something, and they go, oh, here, I've got a deck of cards, and they jump into this pattern, and I feel like I don't personally. That's not for me. I like to speak to people. I'll ask their names, remember their names. I'll ask them about their day, and then I'll kind of meander into it, and then they'll find themselves in a routine. And I have my set points of patter. I know what I want to say at certain points to hit home and hit hard, but anything else in between, I will change depending on who I'm with. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm ad-libbing as such, because if I see a relaxed couple, then I might patter to them very much the same as I'd patter to another relaxed couple. Yeah. But if I say a young, hyped-up, energy-based, like group of people, then I'll change and I'll perform in that sort of style as well. So it's all about building rapport with me. It's all about, so it's all about kind of trying to gel with the people as much as possible so that you can hit home with them.
You're essentially mirroring your audience, aren't you? If they're a nice, quiet, mellow... Like, I was sat down with tables, I was literally...
Weddings go, I'm just going to sit down with you. And they're like, yeah, come join in.
Yeah. And people are afraid of that as well. People are like, they think that the booker's going to think you're, but I sit down, because there's always someone who's going to the bar, there's always someone who's going to... get up and like, I've had people who are not interested. I've been hired by the bride and groom, which brings up a great point. We'll jump into a side thing. A lot of people ask, workers like yourself, how do you approach a table? Like, what's your introduction line? You walk over, do you say, hey, I'm Ben Williams? Like, what's your line?
Hopefully, my aim for most sort of wedding gigs and things like that is that by the time got to their table, they're anticipating me anyway.
Yeah.
If I have to give an introduction, then what I'll do, I'll walk up with my head held high, confidently. I won't like come up and then go back. I used to do all of this, like and then circle around the table. Yeah. Don't do that anymore. I go, right, that's my table. I'm going for it. And I'll walk up. I might walk around the table slightly, just confidently, like a waiter would or a maitre d' or something like that. And then I will get eye contact with somebody and I'll go, hi, how are you doing? How is everyone today?
Yeah.
And everyone hears that. And if they're in a little conversation, they hear everyone. And then they go, everyone, that includes me. And they look up.
Yeah.
And then say, I'll use name cards as much as I can, or remember names, and I'll say, Paul, you're going to help me out here. Who's the most generous person on the table?
Yeah.
And then that opens it up to the whole table, and then I'll get some money off them.
I had the same approach to like getting the audience involved, where you're like, who's the most generous? I would say, hands up if you gamble. That would be my first, question to the audience would be hands up. I wouldn't know names at that point. To be like, hands up if you gamble. And wives would be nudging husbands like, oh, he does. And then there'd be some people who are like, no. And then you can be like, okay, well, we're going to gamble, but, you can't lose this. And then you go into your routine. So, yeah, I think it's important to ask one big group statement that everyone can interact with, and...
It's funny that you mentioned the word gamble. The word gamble is such a cool word. Like, in England, I don't know if it's so much in America as such, but in England, there's like a whole game show kind of thing, like gamble.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Price is Right, or higher or lower, kind of gamble. And you say the word gamble around the table, and people go, gamble.
Yeah.
So another pointer would be try and change little individual words in your presentation, because you might hit that one gold mine of a word which just erupts a table. Because that happened to me. Like, just adding gambling. Like, do you want to just go about your day, or do you want to gamble for the secret prize in my wallet or something like that? And it changes it completely. So
Andy Nyman had a great presentation. I forget the trick. I mean, you worked for a magic shop for like 10 years, so you might know this, but it was the one where they take any card, and it's like, they're always like, oh, boo, 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 and then the one they choose says go crazy.
yeah.
I kind of like stole that premise, and I got them to hate me. So I'd be like, if this isn't your card, if this isn't your card, you boo me, you like stomp, you boo me, you shout abuse, you go disgusting things, you like personally attack me, everything. If this is, which it might not be, but if it is, I want you to stand up and applaud and go crazy, throw drinks, like just joking
Make
about
it.
it.
Jealous that you're seeing the best magic in the world.
Yeah, exactly. But getting them offside and then giving them a little suggestion is the quickest way to get like the biggest reaction. It's like, listen, if this isn't your card, go crazy, tear the card up, spit on me, right? Just I'm rubbish. Like, but if it is, go crazy, stand up, and they'll literally be like, what?
Yeah. Like, great.
So yeah, don't be afraid to change those words, for people out there as well. And I mean, for you, I guess, because I know you're busy, you've got a gig to go perform to people. Are you performing Sharp Money today?
I will be, yeah. I mean, it depends. I mean, here is a bit. It's not so much a gig. It's more like I'm a preferred supplier. So they say, here's our entertainer. He's a magician. Do you want to sit down and have a meeting? So it depends. It depends on the vibe I get from the people. If usually what I'll do is I'll crack just a quick little, like a double lift or something like that. And depending on their reaction, then I'll ask them for some money, and then I'll show them Sharp Money or something like that. So
that's a great tip as well. A lot of people ask.
Well, it's like the reset on it, and Sharp Money is like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, and the tip in there is a lot of people will be like, but what if they haven't got money? Do a different trick.
So what?
Yeah. You don't always, just because you know something doesn't mean it has to be broken out. But I guess that's your opinion there is that it's your effect and you choose the moment. Like you create that moment based on whether it feels right.
I think if I sit down to a group of people and I get the feel that I'm going to hit home runs with them if I do a little bit of mentalism, I'm not going to do like flashy visual poppy magic for them.
Yeah.
So it I think that's real key as a performer, is being aware of when you're connecting with your audience and when you're not.
Is there a telltale sign for a heckler, something you look for?
Do you know what? I applaud hecklers. If I go up to a table and there's somebody there like that, or I'll draw attention to it. I'll go, and then I'll say, it's all right, I'm not going to be here for long, John, or something like that, and then I'll just try and let them know that I'm not a nasty guy. I'm not trying to be all big and ego and like, hey, look at me, magic's real. If people if people believe magic is real, then let them believe it. I'm not going to tell them that they're wrong. But if they're like, magic's not real, it's all sleight of hand, I might give them a nudge and a wink and go, well, I know some slightly clever things. Or something like that, I'll mix and mingle with them. So if I see a heckler, I'll just draw attention to him. But then you can do things like ask them a question. So that might be the person that I ask who's the most generous person on the table. Because they don't really participate, but it gets them involved. And then they get to have a funny moment where they get to choose who the most generous person is. into it a bit more and start having fun themselves. Because if you're having fun, then they're going to have fun as well, hopefully.
So you think like killing them with kindness,
Yeah. I
they
every kindness as much as I can, because that's what I believe in. I don't believe in being mean to people. If I have a disagreement with somebody, a really severe disagreement, I just don't talk to them.
yeah.
I just don't talk to them. There's 7 billion people in the world. Why do you need to hang yourself up on holding grudges against one person? It's ridiculous. So
Yeah.
I mean, people are going to have differing opinions. Some people are going to love sharp money. Okay, some people are going to think it's fantastic. Some people aren't. I'm okay with that. That's the way of the world. But what I do hope is that if you do get it, just write a review. Let people know what you think. So
Yeah, I try and do that. People, I'm sure you've had jobs before, equally distressful. I used to work in a call center as an IT tech, fixing people's computers. So now every, back in my teenage years, now every time I call a call center and that person's helpful, I ask to speak to their manager
to say
to
they were awesome.
to say they're awesome. I don't know if you've got some sort of company bonus scheme. You must hear about the bad all the time. It takes an extra 5 seconds from my day, but that might give them a £20 voucher that allows them to get a new, t-shirt or something, or shirt for the weekend to go out and have fun with their
Just
mates.
feel good about going to work.
Yeah.
And that's funny that you say that. I was online to a printing press the other day, and this chat box popped up, and I had an issue. I had some questions, so I spoke to them. They're really helpful, and I that was just yesterday. I've spoken to them a few times through the past week using this chat service, and I always thank them. And I spoke to somebody yesterday and said, you know what, I've done this. I've worked. So me popping up all week, I'm probably annoying you right now, but I just want to say thank you so much. You've been really helpful. I really appreciate everything.
Yeah.
And it makes I remember if you give good customer service and you get something nice back, even if it's just a comment, it means something. It brightens your day, and it makes you feel more positive about work and going to work. And so if you can do that for somebody, then do it. Why not?
I think that's a good thing as well. Like, I know that you probably already do this, but how do you close an audience? How do you leave a table? Because I know some people will be like, that's your card. Okay, well, I got to go see those guys over there. All right, bye.
What I'll usually do is I'll let them know that I'm going to perform my last effect. So I say, I'll tell you what, I got one last, do you want to see one last thing? And then they'll be like, yeah. And then on the big applause cue, you just go, boom, you give it like a thank you, everyone. So I'll do something like that. I'll gesture, hands open, just thank you, everyone. I might touch two people on their shoulders either side if I'm between two people, something like that. I'll get eye contact with as much people as possible. I might do something like that. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. If you want to see any more, just come and grab me. I'll be around somewhere.
Yeah. And I think it doesn't, it's a good tip. It doesn't have to be awkward if you set them up for it.
Well, they know that's their last one, so they know, okay, well, this is our last chance to give a big sort of round of applause or something like that, show our appreciation.
Yeah.
And they feel like they should do. It's like when a theatre show finishes, everyone's, you clap.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of prepping them to do that as much as, I'm not asking them to do it, but it's the social kind of, the natural social way, if you like.
The social cues of head down, big one clap, sort of. It's almost like a suggested bow, isn't it?
Sometimes I'll put my hands together like that because it's very much a me thanking them.
Yeah.
It's not like a hey, I mean, I will do an arms out kind of cue, but it's a bit more like that rather than like a
like ta-da, I'm amazing, yes.
Unless I'm with a bunch of people that you're jamming off each other and you're all like that, and then you might give it some of that, or it's all depends on who you're performing for, really. So
and I want to thank you for your time. I guess for me, there's going to be a few questions over sharp money. One of them, I want to address now. I know that you've got strong feelings about this. Is why didn't we show the full performance in the trailer.
Would have been nice.
You know,
I think, yeah.
like
I,
what's your feelings on trailers and?
Well, I understand. First of all, I understand this was a trailer. It wasn't a demo. There's a difference. You know, it's not a demonstration. It was a trailer, and trailers are supposed to eke little bits and make you enticed. And ooh, you know, if we were calling it a demo, then that's slightly different kind of thing. But aesthetically, I think it looks great. I think it says what needs to be said without, you know, giving too much away, which is nice. I do understand serious buyers and people that are wanting to part with their money. I can understand why they are asking for a full performance as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of the, you know, I know full well selling secrets is a very tough job, you know, because you got to protect that secret and sell it. And they just don't go together. You know, you want to sell something, you want to shout about it. You want to say what the best points are. You want to show as much as you can about it. But a secret, you don't want to shout about. You don't want to say anything. You don't want to show anything.
Yeah.
So they're kind of very tough things to do. And I think you got to get a balance. I think what would, you know, I think it's been, I love the trailer personally. I love the feel of it, you know, but then I've seen it and I've worked this and I know what it all looks like and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
I honestly can say this. They're not hiding anything in the trailer. I'm hopeful that there will be some full performances leaked, whether it's from me, or there will certainly be full performances from people that have bought it, which come out. And I think, given that they're performed well by other people, if it's not a performance that I'm showing, then I think everyone will be so pleasantly surprised by how clean it looks and just how much of a paradox it is, really. So,
and I think, you know, people often forget that your livelihood, you know, when Ellusionist releases something, it's quite easy to say, you know, on forums and things like, oh, they're hiding this in the trailer, I'm so sick of this. And the truth is, you know, Ellusionist is a business and, you know, we don't try to hide that. But there is a genuine feeling, you know, in the same way that we brought Kieran on, you know, especially for artists that me and Lloyd know. We bring on friends, like we've known each other since probably Blackpool 2008, you know?
I think before that.
You know, but it's all about, you know, what's best for the artist. And when people, you know, they watch these videos, they're like, full performance, and they dismiss it as, you know, not that. It's your livelihood, you know, it's 8 years. I remember I had one guy call me up for a gig. He said, you know, and this is a few years ago, he said, how much is it? And I was like, well, it's literally on my doorstep. I'll do it for £300 for the hour. You know, it literally was like 5 minutes up the road. Didn't have anything else booked that weekend. Said, yeah, you know, last minute I'll do it, £300 for the hour. He said, what? £300 an hour? Like, my son's a surgeon, he saves lives, and he doesn't get paid that. And I was like, you're not paying for the hour, you're paying for the 8 years worth of performing, you know, worth of work, worth of learning magic that's gone into it.
Plus, doctors are underpaid.
Yeah, but doctors, yeah, true. But you know, it's the same with sharp money. When you show an effect online, when you show a trailer, you're highlighting, you know, the plot. You're highlighting, you know, the effect, what's about to happen. You're not highlighting the secret. We've got to protect that for your sake because it's taken you since 2006, you know, 2007 to develop this routine into the best thing possible, you know, and it would do a disservice to all creators, to all artists, to not try and protect that, to try and keep that. You know, we did one, I think it was Insight by Hugo Shelley, where on the page we revealed what it was.
Yeah.
Because knowing that secret, there's no way that you could recreate that at home.
No.
You know, whereas, you know, something like a slide, something like a trick, you know, for $20.
That's the thing as well. It's a great price.
Yeah, if you're interested, it's a bargain because you'd pay more to go to a lecture to see it live and to see it taught live. you'd pay more for one-on-one coaching with a magician. You know, people neglect the fact that this is in your living room. You can learn something that you developed in England and worked on for almost a decade, you know, anywhere in the world for $20. I think that's, you know, technology is incredible in that way.
It's a crazy thing. It really, really is. You know, I think I just, like I say, I just want to encourage everyone that has got it, that's learning it, post a review about it. Let me know what you think. Find me on social media.
Yeah.
You know, Facebook is Ben Williams Magic. You can find me on Instagram as Ben Mofo Magic or Unbelievable Magic. You can, you know, email me ben@unbelievablemagic.com. Whatever you like. You know, hit up Ellusionist and send them some messages. Comment on the you know, anywhere. There's so many ways that you could just drop a comment or just a review or something like that. And please do. You know, even if you're one of the people that feels like it's not for you, then that's fine. But I think, like you say about protecting, with the going back to the trailer just quickly, I think it's really tough because I remember. Do you remember when you first found out how the coin bite worked?
Yeah.
I remember finding that out, and it was an instant deflation.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was like, oh, the possibility of all this kind of happening. Now, you can get that with trailers. Like, I've watched a trailer before and been fooled by it, and then somebody else has posted on a forum, not the actual method as such, but just dropped major hints towards it.
Yeah.
And that's made me realise what. And then I'm like, oh, do you know what? I didn't want to know that.
Yeah.
And every time, you know, they can be quite honest comments, and they can be quite, you know, not coming from a dark place or a mad place or an angry place or any sort of negative place. They can come from a really positive place, but they can pop people's bubbles, and I think that's a shame because some people aren't intending. Some people just want to find out information about it, which is what I will try and do. I'll try and answer as many questions as candidly as possible, but I want to try and retain that mystery at the same time, because that's what we get now. We don't get fooled by the magic, so we've got to get our anticipation, our mystery, our kicks somewhere else. And you know, and I quite enjoy that. I quite enjoy seeing a trailer that fools me and going, well, bloody, how'd that work?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It's the same as seeing a trick. You know, we were going back to what earlier, because once you know an effect, you know, like I remember Geraint when he released Infusion on Ellusionist years ago. The most insane thing at that moment I'd ever seen. And he starts the explanation and he says, let's be honest, there's only one way that coin's getting inside the glass. And I'm like,
oh, why didn't I think of that?
You know, and then, yeah, and then I think the disappointment in, you know, in magic comes from that desire to want to be fooled, to want it to be the most insane. It's only, this is your expectations for a method. And that's the actual method. And it's when they don't align is when people are disappointed, you know?
I think also, like, you can get that disappointment from somebody else, can give you that disappointment, and it might turn you off against something, which actually, if you worked it, if you got it and learnt from it, then you might realize, actually, this is something that will work for me. Yeah. You know, it's just, you know, you kind of, when you listen to somebody else going, oh, it's just this, or oh, it's just that, or whatever it is that they're saying, you're listening to their opinion. Yeah. And their opinion affects your opinion. And basically, those opinions aren't based on fact anyway, really. If it's like a trailer that hasn't come out yet, or an effect that hasn't been taught yet, or something like that, it's all based on opinion, which is, you know, could be someone else's opinion. Yeah. So, you know, just be patient. You know, it's been a week. It's been a week, and now it's released. It's out there. You know, so because I've had so many messages about wanting to learn it. Oh, I paid for it. I haven't got the tutorial. I'm like, I know it's a pre-order. It's it sucks. I want you to.
But as of last night, you know, it's live. So for anyone that gets it from this moment on, it's fully live. You'll be able to learn it instantly. There's methods you can go out and perform instantly, and then there's methods you'll get a special set of gimmicks, you know, that were chosen specifically to allow you to do the other methods on there.
Yeah, the gimmick version is something like that. That's what's the ins and outs of that have taken me years to kind of just get right and just get nice and get perfect for me. And
I
I'm
want to
really proud.
expose it, mate. I do want to say, like, the gimmick method is so mechanically satisfying, you know, to like,
You could say what the gimmick really did.
yeah, I wish.
It does like it basically does the routine for you, and so the different stages of the routine, the gimmick takes care of it. Really, you will have to, it'd take you a tiny bit of practice to get the handling with the gimmick down, as it would with any gimmick. But it's
Would you recommend this? You know, because a lot of people are quite comfortable being hobbyists.
Mhm.
You know, would this be honestly as well, would this be something that applies to hobbyists as well as workers? Because I know a lot of people might be, watching this video and say, but I'm not a worker. I do like one gig every now and again, or I've only performed at my school talent show.
I think a worker doesn't mean that it only works in working situations. I think it means it's perfect for a working situation, which means things like, is it commercial? Is it repeatable? What's the reset like on it? And all these kind of other things. So it just fits that criteria. It doesn't mean that it doesn't fit other criteria as well. I think there's a lot of tricks that hobbyists will bust a gut over trying to get down, which are technically a lot harder than sharp money. So I think, and also just thinking about it, because the gimmick is quite it's quite the handling with the gimmick is quite unique. Anyone that's going to learn it is going to have to learn that anyway, and they've done it before anyway. So you got to start somewhere. So you might be a beginner, a hobbyist, or a pro. You're still going to have to start at that starting block anyway.
I think it's scary sometimes, when you, for young people, young magicians that, I was teaching some routines at a convention recently, and I did the effect, and they were like, I've only started 6 months ago. I'd never be able to do that. I'm like, it's super easy. Like, this is how it's done. And I showed them, and you don't need practice. You can do it. Once you know the secret, it's like, the particular thing I was talking about was setup. So the only practice is in performance, and everyone has to start. That's a great point. For a brand new routine, everyone's back to the start, regardless of skill level. Everyone starts from the same point, And leaving on a positive, what's the best trick you've seen, in the last 5 years that isn't yours? Like the one that you have to perform at events, the one you have to perform for friends.
Do you want to know, honestly, the one that I've done most, that's been added into my working repertoire, that I have done most and had a lot of fun with, is magics.
The condom effect.
Oh,
yeah.
Do you know? I mean, I've worked really nice patter with it. I've got it down to a T, so it's not offensive or anything. It's really funny.
How do you perform it? That's a great point. How do you perform it?
So what I say to them is I perform it like a mind read, and it's very simple. It's very simple. Okay, so you have the card selected, as you would with the trick, and then I have them place it back inside the pack, and then I just say, here, look, this is really simple, and I just flick it towards my pocket. I don't go over the top and show it's vanished from the deck or anything like that. You don't need to. I just flick it to my pocket, and I say, look.
Demonstration-wise,
I'm just running my thumb on the back of the deck and just pointing it towards my top pocket.
Yeah.
I say, if your card is now in my top pocket, that'd be amazing, won't it? And I say, this, in fact, could be any card. This card will turn into anything you're thinking of. If you're thinking of the Jack of Hearts, it will turn into the Jack of Hearts. Whatever you're thinking of, it will turn into. If you think of the Ace of Hearts, it will turn into the Ace of Hearts. Whatever you think of, it will turn into. And as I say that, I change it into a condom. And I go, well, what were you thinking of?
Yeah.
I hand it to them, and you get such a funny reaction. I'll do this a lot more with blokes, actually, than women.
Yeah.
I think with women, you've really got to be sensitive about that, and you've got to pick and choose the right side of moments and kind of people. But blokes, it goes over so funny, and all the women will laugh at the bloke as well. And then you get, it's just funny. But it's again, you get that moment where I've had people go, "Oh, I'll save that for later." They put it in their wallet, and I go, "No. I tell you what, if you wait till later to open that, you will sorely regret it."
Yeah.
And then they're like, "What?" And I go, "Feel it, touch it. It's not." And then they're like, "Oh my god!" And it's again that double-barreled kind of reaction.
Yeah. Do you know what? I know Pete McKinnon. Like,
Right.
he's adapted the routine for himself. So he takes, the gimmick with the card inside that you can do the reveal with, puts it in his wallet, and then he does the routine. They select a card, and then he says, "And your card jumps to my wallet." And they're like, "Does it?" And he opens his wallet like frantically. He's like, "Oh, cards, American Express. Oh, condom." And they laugh, and they're like, and he's like, "Oh, wait a second. Hold on to this for me." And he gives it to them, puts everything back in his wallet. He's like, "Wouldn't it be incredible if you could?" And then they tear it open. So he doesn't necessarily do
the visual
the visual change. He's adapted that routine to fit for casual performance,
That's a great way to do it. Great way to do it.
Yeah, I love that routine as well. I think it's
I do a trick called envelope, which is another visual change of a deck into an envelope. But I do the change on the offbeat when they're not paying attention.
Yeah.
Deliberately, because then when they look back, they look over, and when they look back and it's now an envelope, they do their pieces.
Yeah.
And there's no heat on the envelope. They're just like crediting you with immense skill at this moment. And yeah, I love, so yeah, play around with things. Like, don't just necessarily do them exactly how they're patterned and how they're showed to. Just think about things yourself.
Yeah, good tip. So we're going to wrap up there because I know you're busy. You've got to get back to it. If everyone wants a full-on AMA, because Ben is a working professional, if you want a full AMA, leave in the comment section below your questions or the word AMA in capital letters and then a question that follows it. And me and you, when you're back at home, you can be in your kitchen like me. We'll sit down and we'll have a full workers presentational AMA. It doesn't need to be about products, doesn't need to be about creations, and you can search Ben Williams on Ellusionist and you can find everything he's ever put out with us. But we'll do a full-on workers AMA if everyone's interested, because there's some tips that you've given there about not showing visuals, about when to show visuals that I think people might want some more depth on. So yeah, thank you so much, Ben, for your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Super busy. And we'll leave this. So thanks everyone for tuning in to the AMA. Leave your questions below. And yeah, we'll see you for the next one. Take care.
Take care. All right.